Hey everybody, Nate Carter here with today's Cornerstone Connection Daily Devotional. Well, today I started reading through the book of Numbers. Now, if you've been following me, you know that I just finished Leviticus, and the only thing worse than Leviticus is Numbers. Now, that's a terrible thing for a pastor to say, but in terms of getting through some of the drier parts of Scripture, Numbers is one of the tough ones. But I've got a resource that I want to share with you that if you're going through some of these books, perhaps that are dry or hard to understand, I want to just suggest it to you. It's in the Bible app, and it's called Through the Word. It's a reading plan, and each chapter of the Bible comes with a little explanation of what it's about. And it's been so helpful for me for applicational purposes. So if you're where I'm at and you're trying to read through the Bible and you get stuck, check out the Through the Word series through the Bible app. That being said, today was an introduction and talking about what the book of Numbers was all about. And I found it so helpful to me. They used Numbers chapter 9 as an example of kind of a summary of what the whole book is going to be about. And I want to just point out a couple of verses. So as you know, the people of Israel they're in the desert and they're on their journey to the promised land. But this book is all about the waiting period and just kind of their constant journey. And God shows up to them in a pillar of fire by night and a cloud by day. And in verse 17 of chapter 9, it says, "Whenever the cloud lifted over the sacred tent, the people of Israel would break camp and follow it. And wherever the cloud settled, the people of Israel would set up camp." So this is how God told them when to come and when to go by this pillar of fire or this cloud. And so simple enough, they follow the instructions. But down in verse 22, then it says, "Whether the cloud stayed above the tabernacle for 2 days, a month, or a year, the people of Israel stayed in camp and did not move on. But as soon as it lifted, they broke camp and moved on." And I got to thinking about that. I thought, how frustrating must it have been for the Israelites to have set up camp and painstakingly set up the tabernacle, get themselves settled, only to have the cloud lift the very next day and they have to move again. Kind of probably wondered, God, why'd you have us stop at all? Or why didn't you give us a chance to rest for a little while? But on the flip side, how they must have wondered if God was still there when that cloud would settle for a year. These Israelites have been promised, a new land to move into, and yet the cloud doesn't move. And they must have wondered, God, are you ever going to come through on your promises? Or are you just going to have us stay in the desert for the rest of our lives? And it got me to thinking about what that must have been like for the Israelites to constantly be waiting on God's initiative for them to take the next step. And of course, that has a natural implication in our own lives, that we're to be following God step by step as well, and not to be moving on our own initiative, but waiting for God to take the lead for the next step. I want to spend a couple of these devotionals talking about that response to God and what that means in our lives. But today I want to just challenge you with the idea that our actions are to be in response to God's initiative. And while it doesn't look exactly like a cloud or a pillar of fire to us, we are not to take steps forward without God making it clear where the next step is. And sometimes God's going to call us to wait. So today I want to just invite you to take some time to listen to God and say, God, what do you have next for me? Or do you want me to just wait right now? In the next couple of devotionals, we'll talk about what that waiting looks like and what it may be all about. But for today, just want to encourage you to wait on the Lord, to allow Him to lead you in His own special way and by His Spirit, and then to move when He tells you to move. God bless you. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time on the Cornerstone Connection.